Welcome to our community of researchers. This is Dr. Barbara Noel. I'm going to give you a brief tour of how to use APA style formatting for your academic writing. In part, I'm going to use a presentation from the Purdue University Writing Lab that I think does the best job of telling you why APA. Basically, as you write, you're going to have other people reading your writing. So you're writing for an academic audience, and you want to cross-reference your sources easily. By using a certain protocol, in this case APA, which is what's most commonly used in the liberal arts, you're going to have a standard way that people can read your writing and know where to find the sources that you cite in case they want to look them up as well. It also gives you credibility as a writer, and it also helps you protect yourself from plagiarism. When you cross-reference your citations, that means that the people that are reading your writing can locate your sources for their own research projects if they wish. By being consistent with your protocol in APA, it helps the reader understand your arguments and know where to find your sources. It also helps you keep track of your own sources. Again, when you're writing, you want to say, well, it's not just me saying it, other people are saying it too. And these are the other people that are saying it, and that's when you cite the sources. So it helps you be more believable to your audience. By avoiding plagiarism, it helps you avoid a serious offense. In many institutions, it can get you kicked out of the program or at the very least fail the project. So just know that people are going to be scrutinizing your writing and you want to avoid the scary idea of being accused of plagiarism. Where you can find more information on APA format is by going to the OWL website that's listed here. When you turn in your paper, the first page looks something like this, and you'll have a running head, and you'll have the title and the affiliation of the university. But most of all, in this presentation, we're going to be looking at the reference page and how to use parenthetical citations, because that's what most people have trouble with. First, let's look at the reference page. You may be familiar with the idea of a bibliography. In APA, you don't want to use a bibliography because that can mean any book that might have to do with your topic. But with a reference page, it's basically a list of the sources that you refer to, thus reference, the references that you refer to in your writing. Okay, so it's the sources that you actually write about in your essay or in your academic paper. And it gives you, it's sort of an address, if you will. It gives the writer an address, or the reader an address for knowing where to go to find that source. Okay? So here you're going to see a reference list, and in this case, every source that's listed is somewhere listed in the academic paper somewhere. As you'll notice, it's double-spaced. And as you'll also notice, the first line is a little bit further out, and every line after that is indented in. So any line after the first line in a reference entry is indented. So in this case, it's only one line that's indented because it's a short reference. In this case, every other line is also indented because it's a longer reference. There are no extra spaces between reference entries. And the reason why we do that is so that as readers want to look up the citations, they want to be able to quickly scan the authors and just scoot down to find the actual reference that they wish. And that's why it's done that way. Most citations basically have the author's name, the title of the work, and the publication information. In a book, it's pretty easy. You give the last name, first name's initial, the date of publication in parentheses, a period, the title, which is in italics, it's italicized, and then the publisher information. With the web page, what you want to look at is you also want to add more specific detail about the date, okay? Um, you'll want to say that it was retrieved and the date that you retrieved it. So you want to say retrieved, date, from, and then you put the web page on there. And here are a few others that you can look at. So what you'll want to do is study the basics, okay? You won't remember everything, but when you have a question, look it up, and you'll see where to look it up in a moment. Now let's look at parenthetical citations. Parenthetical citations are used inside the text that you're writing in the main body of your paper, okay? When you're quoting, that means you're using words that are not your own, okay? It's really important that you let people know those are not your own words. If you don't, you can be easily accused of plagiarizing. Okay? Quoting means repeating another source word for word, and that's when you want to use quotation marks. You want to also make sure that your quotes are short and that you don't actually try to just put sew together, if you will, or connect a lot of different quotes together to make your points. More than anything, what you want to do is make sure that it's your writing coming from your own head, so that people know that you have processed the information. When you summarize facts or ideas from a source, that means you're condensing them and using your own words. Okay. When you're paraphrasing, that means that you're also using ideas from another source, but you're changing the phrasing into more of your own words. So it's more and more your own words. Either way, when in doubt, you want to add in a citation. Okay. The reason why you want to use parenthetical citations and not footnotes that you might have been used to in other experiences that you've had is that the parenthetical citations make your text more readable. As your reader is looking through your text, they'll know, okay, this is where he got it from. I'll know that in the reference list I can look that up, and then they just keep on reading. They don't have to search around for the citation like they would with a footnote. So when you're using citations in your text, you might write, for example, Carruth, and then you put 1996 because that's when Carruth wrote what it is that you're citing. Carruth states that a traumatic response frequently entails a, and then these are Carruth's actual words, quote, and then these are the words, and then the page number where the quote came from. With quotes, you always want to use a page number. This is another way to do it. A traumatic response frequently entails a, and then here's the quote again, but in this case you've got Carruth, okay, the author, the date, and the page number all together. So here are some other ways that you can put in additional information. Sometimes you can put it this way if you're using two different sources, okay? You can also put them all together in the same parentheses, okay? If it's a work with 6 or more authors, that's when you put Smith et al., okay? Or if you want to put a specific part of a source, then you can also say, for example, chapter 2. If a source has no known author, then use the abbreviated version of the title, like this, like it says here. A reference to a personal communication, like an interview or an email message, then you want to say the initials, last name, personal communication, and the date of the communication. And you can weave in your parenthetical citations like this. Okay. You can read that through. Recently, the history of warfare has been significantly revised by Higgins et al., Marcus, Rate and Tate, to include women's personal and cultural responses to battle and its resultant traumatic effects. Okay, so you can see how it's written in this case. Okay, um, and how it's woven in. So you can either have the author and then the date, or you can have um, the authors, the page numbers. So you can break those up if you wish. There are many different combinations and variations, so again, you'll want to look that up as you have questions. Again, go to owl.english.purdue.edu for more information. You will also have something that looks like this that is a short way for you to remember how to work in citations within your text. If you have a secondary source, for example, you're reading something that was written by Geoffrey May, okay? Geoffrey May published a chapter in a book in 1994, but Geoffrey May talks about Vygotsky. And so you want to say Vygotsky in May. So when an author refers to another study, you name the original author as well, but you want to show the second author and the year because that is the one you read. You didn't read what Vygotsky wrote directly. You read what Geoffrey May wrote about Vygotsky. So you're going to say May, Geoffrey May, 1994. And then the reader will know that that's where Geoffrey May was talking about Vygotsky. So here are more examples, okay? And there are lots of videos that you can watch that can help explain this some more. And there are other ways that you can make references in your reference list, like the book, a chapter, a journal article, if you found it in the internet. A lot of times people will ask, well, what about a blog posting? This is how you can make a reference to a blog posting. Lecture notes, this is how you can make a reference to lecture notes or slideshows from a class. And if you have more questions, here are more video casts, a slideshow, more advice for specific grammar points, how to use phrasal verbs, how do you work with writing transitions. If, for example, you've been told that you don't write very clearly, you'll know where to go here for helping you write more clearly in your sentences. What does paraphrasing mean versus paragraphing? How do you write more concisely? There are exercises that can help you build that knowledge. And if you want even more information, here are some more guides. Okay. And then here are just some brief clarifications on common errors. A lot of native Spanish speakers that write in English can be really good writers in English, but even then, there are few little glitches, as we all know. And so, for example, you'll want to say researches instead of research studies. The correct form is research studies. In Spanish, you'll want to say trabajos, and that's perfectly grammatical. But in English, you'll want to say research studies. And here are a few other common errors and the way to write them correctly. One last thought, and I hope you believe me that I do not work for Purdue, but this is a phenomenal resource for you. If you go to owl.englishpurdue.edu, like I had mentioned before, there is a whole section on academic writing and all sorts of great information that will help you fix your writing errors. And if you are concerned about writing in English as a second language, there is a site for you, which is right here for ESL students. And it gives you all sorts of tips for writing, for example, in North American colleges, or how to avoid plagiarism. Now, if you're not an ESL student and you are wanting to learn other ways, here are other tips for learning to write for business audiences around the world. So I hope that this is helpful for you, and I look forward to reading your writing.